It's interesting to note that these 18 years of drought for Sporting coincided with the rise of Porto. Sporting won in 1982, but since then, Porto began to dominate and put together great teams capable of winning leagues and cups.
But Benfica and Sporting still managed to serve up some classics, notably in May 1994, a game that would ultimately decide that season's championship. The teams met at Sporting's José Alvalade Stadium and played out a 9-goal thriller.
We knew that if we lost this game, then it would be very difficult for us to be champions. And due to being away from home, most people didn't believe we'd go to the José Alvalade Stadium and be able to get a win. So there was a lot of expectation surrounding the game.
Sporting had assembled a team full of star names in a bid to win their first title in 12 years. Yet true to Lisbon derby tradition, the better team was far from guaranteed a comfortable win. Their illustrious neighbours had other ideas, in particular João Pinto, who was to get himself on the score sheet a record 4 times in Benfica's eventual 6-3 win.
We ended up losing 6-3. We had to win the match, so for me it was a really sad derby. We had such a strong, well-balanced team, but we lost a great chance to win the league.
A mini classic that suggested football was still very much alive and thriving in Lisbon. Yet it would be Benfica's last league triumph for over a decade. For Sporting, the wait would be seemingly interminable. Indeed, only in 2000, 18 years after their previous league triumph, was Sporting able to lay claim to being Portugal's premier club again. They did, though, repeat the feat 2 years later. After years of failed attempts, it seems Sporting were finally back to their best. Victory was made even sweeter by the fact their city rivals were struggling. Benfica hadn't won the league since 1994. But in 2005 they too ended their barren spell, largely thanks to a controversial derby victory late on in the season.
It doesn't bring back great memories, because we were still fighting for the title, and we ended up losing a game that we didn't deserve to lose.
Sporting may have had cause for complaint, but Benfica's win and subsequent league success signal that football in Lisbon wasn't yet ready to lay down and die.
Benfica went on to become champions because it was the last day of the season.
Despite the recent renaissance of football in Lisbon, there's little sign that either side will return to their former glories of the 60s anytime soon. Until they do, the considerable weight of history upon both clubs will continue to be a significant burden. The shadow of Eusebio and his celebrated Benfica team of the 60s may never be fully lifted. Now it's up to both clubs, and especially Benfica, to tap into this history to help Portuguese football re-emerge as a dominant force in Europe once again.
The strength of Benfica is enormous because it isn't just a national strength, it goes beyond Portugal. And when Benfica gets a bit of consistency and is regularly in the Champions League or fighting for the title, then they'll definitely attract even more fans and gain more force. This in turn will give them more economic reward, so they can increase the strength of their squad, and so that sooner or later, and I'm hoping sooner, they can obtain the same sort of dimension that they had back in the 60s.
Whether that can happen remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, Benfica Sporting, with its passion and tradition, will live on as the main occasion here.